Welcome to another episode of moneystream.com.au, and I'd like to thank and welcome the CEO and founder of the Jim's Group with over 4,300 franchisees in Australia, Canada and New Zealand, Mr. Jim Penman. Welcome.
Yeah, no, good to be here. Actually, it's a bit over 4,500 now. We're growing fast.
My goodness. Look, you're one of the rare businesses, and I'm not surprised given what's happening around the world COVID, which your business is just growing and growing and growing. So, as they say, the proof's in the pudding. It's absolutely astounding, and congratulations on all the success. Jim, today, again, thanks for joining us. Today, Jim's going to talk about fitness, health, anything to do with fitness. And I'll hand it over to Jim, who I won't reveal his age, but I think, Jim, you look absolutely phenomenal for your age. I'll give it over to you, hand it over to you.
Well, my age is 69. I turn 70 next year.
Unbelievable.
And it's actually a surprise to me. You know, you think about 69, 70 as being very, very old. What's really floored me is how well I feel and how well I function. You know, people talk about getting old. I don't feel it. I'm very fit. I run for fun. If I'm going one place, I just run because I enjoy it. My mind is very active. I'm full of energy. I'm as creative as I've ever been. I've always got new ideas. I drive people mad. I go into the office and say, hey, I got an idea, and we do something different, or do this, or do this, or do this all the time. Just bursting with stuff. So this is what being old is like. It's really, it's not what you expect.
Can you sprinkle something over this side, please?
Well, the matter, John, of it's got a lot to do with lifestyle. Look, I'm very fortunate in many ways. Most of all, who I'm married to, I've got an incredibly wonderful, gorgeous wife, and I'm crazy about her after 20 years of marriage, and that does tend to, you know, up your spirits a lot. So I got a good family, got a wonderful son, which is my last of my 10 children still at home, and I enjoy playing with him. And I got a really, really, really fun job. It's just incredibly exciting what we're doing. Everything's changing so fast, and all amazing stuff happening, new software and new systems, and just working out better and better how to do everything. So I'm in a very good situation in other ways, but obviously let's talk a lot about health and fitness and what's in it. Yeah. Well, when I go to the doctor, which I do quite regularly, I just had a skin check, by the way, which is important. You go to the doctor. I've got a wonderful doctor. It's called integrative medicine, actually, and it's where you didn't just go for a Medibank thing. I just pay a bit more. It's not much more, and you get a really thorough. And he goes into the background and tries to keep you healthy. So he's just cut out a bit of possibly cancerous thing in my back. So I keep an eye on stuff like that. But basically, look, there's a few things. Obviously, exercise is really, really important. I read sometimes at least half an hour a day is good. So I make that an effort. You know, I do all kinds of things, but if nothing else, I'll run for about half an hour on a treadmill. Usually, I set it about 9 or 10 kph, so it's not really fast. It's just a good run. And finish that up with a cold shower. I find that a very good way to start the day. If not that, I'll do some other thing. I like playing squash, those kind of things. We're actually getting a racquetball court in our conference centre early next year, so that'll be really good to be able to play that. And at least a couple of days a week, I spend a few hours working on my farm, just doing physical work like cutting down blackberries or digging this giant potato patch things that I do. So I could use a few tons of food every year. So just keep physically active. But apart from that, obviously, I walk a lot. Like I work actually in my house, which is 5 minutes from the office, and I walk back and forth several times a day. I work from home, go to the office, chat to people, come back, just walk around. If I'm walking in, I always take the stairs rather than escalator or a lift if I possibly can. that would annoy me. People are so slow, really mad to me. They get yesterday and they sit there. And so that's what's wrong with the younger generation. They're all slow coaches. I just find that very difficult to be behind people. I'm always trying to pass them and stuff. So, so keeping fit is really, really, really important. But a rough guide is double your pulse rate. So if I can't do anything else, I'll go for a very brisk walk for half an hour. But that's not very usual. But then again, if you double your pulse rate, that's about right. But obviously more than half an hour is good. And obviously the other side is food. Now, when I go to the doctor, they routinely ask me the weight, and I say 66 kilos. And you know, it's the same as last time. I said, yeah, it is, because if it gets above that level, then I stop eating as much, particularly cut out in desserts. And so I don't eat. First of all, I practice what's called 16-8 fasting. You know, I have all my meals within an absolute maximum of 8 hours a day. So usually I don't eat between about 8 o'clock at night and 1 o'clock the following day. And that's good in a number of points of view. One of them is because it actually gets your, the way cells work, from what I understand, is that if they run short of food at a time, they actually clean out all the radicals and the bad stuff, and they draw energy out of it. So it's actually very good for your cells not to be constantly fed. We have this idea you have to be full all the time, and it's not actually true. So it's very good for your cells. And the other thing, quite practically, because I do like desserts and chocolate and stuff, is that when you only eat 2 meals a day, you don't eat quite as much. I reckon it's about 350 calories less, just for the fact that you don't eat as much.
Right.
And as far as to what I eat a lot of fruit. Probably eat about 1/3 fruit, 1/3 vegetables, and 1/3 everything else. So just try. So like today so far, I had lunch, which was sort of an omelette thing. Not very successful, actually. I'm not a great cook. But an omelette with vegetables and stuff like that, and a bit of curry powder. I'm trying things. Then I had some cherries, which is really nice this time of the year. Love fruit. Really big fan of cherries. I've actually had a little bit of yogurt and natural sort of Greek yogurt and blueberries too. So, and an apple. So it's quite a nice lunch. You know, I live well, and obviously I can afford to as much fruit as I want, which is really good. So yeah, I don't think there's anything much to it. I just don't. One of the things, the keys for me is that, you know, like about a week ago, I weighed myself, and I was 67 kilos. And that to me is enough of a sign. I weigh myself pretty well every day. If I go up, I just do something and I drop down again. I think for probably decades, the 67 is about the heaviest I've ever got. And you can do this, work out proper weight by the body mass index, which you probably know about. It's weight in kilos over your height in meters squared. Between 18 and 25 is ideal. Well, 66 kilos for me is a BMI of 22.
Right.
So anything from about 64 to 66 would be where I should be, in the middle of that range. So I recommend that for anybody. It's not really tough. It's just a matter of being a bit disciplined in different places. And 16-8 is very good, actually. I've got a friend who's just taken it up, and he says he feels a lot better. You do seem to feel better. You get a little bit hungry at times. I must say, when lunchtime came today at 1 o'clock, I was pretty ready to have a meal.
Yes.
You just get used to it, and you think about other things, and you know, a little bit of hunger isn't a bad thing. It just picks you up a bit, and you enjoy your food.
Yes. Very, very interesting. You bring me back to probably when I was about 18 with that weight. So if I look that upon myself, I think I have to go work very hard. But would you say that, well, say in your particular case, you know, obviously you're very healthy, you're very disciplined, etc. Say someone that's overweight, you know, I'm guilty of that. Where would you start? And depending, I've got a few health problems as well. So the average person, probably not me, I'm not average, but you know, health problems, wants to lose quite a bit of weight, let's say 20 kilos over a given period of time, and they've got medical situation, obviously they'd have to consult with their GP. Where would you recommend they start? Say with food, eating healthy, or exercising, or?
Well, both. But the thing in your situation, John, the mistake people make is trying to do too much, making it too difficult.
Yeah.
You set yourself a goal. Like I don't know how much exercise you normally get, but I would suggest you don't start running, 5Ks a day. It's just too much for you, and it'll wear you out and possibly put pressure on your body. Remembering too, if you're overweight, you're putting a lot of weight on your feet and your ankles. That can cause problems in itself.
Yeah.
So I look at what you do and set yourself an instrumental goal. And it might be to walk half an hour a day, for example. Outdoors is good, actually. It's very good for your mood if you can.
Yeah. Yep.
So I start with that, and I just look at the food that you eat and just give a try to 16-8. It's a remarkably easy thing to do, because the thing is, it's very clear too. I mean, if I was to have like a snack at 11 o'clock, even something like fruit, I would feel very bad, because it's an absolutely clear guideline. I mean, you can work out exactly how much of some dessert or something you might be allowed to have and stuff, and that's vague. But not eating between dinner time and say usually 1 o'clock is not that difficult to do, and it's very, very sharp. So I'd have a try of that. Some people can't do it. My wife can't do it. She's trying to lose a bit of weight. Not that she needs to. She's drop dead gorgeous, but lovely, which I'm very appreciative of. But she'd like to lose a couple of kilos so she could fit into some of her old dresses and stuff. And she's had 4 children, by the way, too.
Yeah.
She's done pretty well. But she finds that that's difficult. She really can't cope with eating that much of a gap. But for some of us, it works well. So I'd start with trying 16-8 fasting. If you can't do 16-8, just try and extend the time a bit. So, for example, you might finish meal at 8 and not have something until 10 or 11 in the morning. So just try it gradually. Don't push yourself too hard.
Yep.
Try and then obviously what we do in the office, actually, I noticed that there's often used to be chocolates and stuff lying around. People will bring them in. So what I do is I order fresh fruit. I get fresh fruit. We get a box in first thing on Monday morning and another one on Wednesday if they want it. And so what the people have sitting around is fruit rather than chocolates and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
If somebody brings in the sweet stuff, I sort of look at them and say, okay, come on.
Yeah.
So you just sort of discourage that. If you've got sweet stuff around, put it away somewhere, or better still, don't have it in the house. Because the thing of it is, if you want a dessert, you have to go out and get it. It's a lot of trouble. And even if it is around, put it in the back of a cupboard somewhere so you don't see it. So when you come out, you're feeling that you want something to eat, ideally between 7 or 8 hours or whatever you're doing, then you have a fruit bowl there, and it's easy to pick up an apple. I don't know. Do you like fruit? Tell me.
Love fruit. I love fruit. Cherries are one of my favourite. Fibre.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go on and on. I got bad teeth, so I'd love apples and I mush them. Cucumbers, beans, anything, fruit and vegetables.
That's a great start, John. And varieties matter too, actually. It's one thing we love envy apples, for example. Since we've got envy apples, I know if I get an envy apple, I'll leave it in the pack so my son knows what they are, because he'll eat the envy apples. They just go. Other don't go as fast. So you get really good fruit. And even, not everybody's that well off, but the cherries are really nice. And I reckon the premium kind. Now that's got to cost a bit of money, but let's face it, a nice box of cherries is less than going out to McDonald's. It's a lot better for you.
If I had cherries in McDonald's, I'd be going for the cherry. I love McDonald's, but I love cherries. Yeah, my late mother planted a tree at home, and it's just about to thrive again. And when it thrives, it's like gold on there, And the cherries, I could just sit there and eat them day after day after day. Yeah.
Well, blueberries are nice too, and they're a lot cheaper than they used to be. A lot more available year round. I don't know how they do it. So I find blueberries in Greek yogurt just unflavored.
Yeah.
It's quite nice actually. It's like a dessert, but it's not unhealthy because
Yeah.
there was this article actually that was talking about, but we raised a whole stack of foods on a scale of 0 to 100, where you know, leafy vegetables is 100, and you know, junk food is about 10. But you look at some of that stuff, and I saw that. That's one reason I started having Greek yogurt lately, because it actually rates really, really high. So if you have that plus fruit, that's really good. The other thing they said is particularly good, which I bought one lot of, is almonds covered in dark chocolate. Apparently, they're supposed to be really, really good for you.
Oh, I love almonds. I've actually I nibble on almonds just a few daily. I love almonds. Yeah. As a youngster, as a little toddler, my late grandmother, she used to give me almonds, you know, being European background. Yeah, almonds. Oh, love them.
So what do you think you need to do, John? I mean, what's your situation?
Okay, well, like I have what's called fibromyalgia as well. And I come from a background of fitness. I'm a martial artist. I haven't practiced for years. A lot of my friends are either kickboxers or martial artists. Some of them have got still their own dojos. But I come from a background also where we had the the quarter-acre block. They're long gone now. And we had the vegetable patches, and we go in the garden, grab a tomato, a cucumber, a lettuce, a broccoli, and on it goes. Fig trees, apple trees, plum trees. But traditionally, I like to swim. I used to play squash an hour each 4 times a week. I used to do what they call Taibo, which is 4 times a week as well. It's basically aerobics for an hour, swim, squash,
Wow.
and all that. So I used to go for a swim along the beach early in the morning, like about 7:30, just half an hour, just a very relaxing swim in the sea. Or in winter, I'd go to the pool, 2 or 3 times a week. I was never really into weights, even though people would look at me, not so much now, just the physique I've got, broad shoulders. I was never really into doing weights and all that. I'd gone to the gym, but not heavily into, sitting there in front of the mirror doing weights. No, just mainly cardio. And again, being in the martial arts arena, we went to tournaments and everything when we were young. Again, it was mainly the stretches, the correct breathing, warm-ups are paramount. Even when I get up every morning, I make sure I stretch, given that I've got this fibromyalgia and stuff. But yeah, mainly cardiovascular, and jogging, I'd always try and do it on the beach, the sand, because I believe, I'm a lot heavier, but I believe, as you said, Jim, the ankles, the knees, when you're jumping, even though you got the best sneakers on the concrete, even on the grass, you're very light compared to me. I'm double your weight. But someone like me, you can imagine running even on the grass. It's not very good for my knees.
Yeah, I run in bare feet. That's one reason I do it on the treadmill, because shoes running shoes are too much padding. It's not good for you, because if you run bare feet, you tend to run on the soles of your feet. So I fortunately have any problems that way. So that used to be your exercise. How much did you weigh in those days?
Well, my weight was around 70, 75. That was my
Too bad. So how tall are you?
I'm about 5'6".
Okay.
5'5", 5 foot. Not very tall. Just average. Okay. Yeah.
So you, with your illness, you find it harder to keep fit these days. Is that the problem?
Yeah, basically with my illness, had it for a while, and I'm on a lot of medication, even though I don't want to be. I've tried not being on it. I need 2 new hips, but I'm not having those done. But the problem with me is I've got I don't have COVID, but I have the exact symptoms as COVID. So I run short of breath. And as everyone knows me, I used to be a champion runner in primary school, #1 in Victoria. And then as I got older, I was #2, and my friend went to Sydney, all that sort of stuff. We were sprinters and all that. But these days, like if I walk even 50 meters, 100 meters, I have to stop and relax, because it's just a natural. It's not that I'm the fat or this. it's just the nature of the beast that I have to get oxygen again. I run out of breath, and hence the fibromyalgia, which is the exact symptoms as COVID-19, absolutely identical, but I don't have COVID.
So like lethargy, lack of energy, this kind of thing.
Yeah, lack of energy. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, even I live in an apartment. I had to sell my house. I live in an apartment, so I couldn't do the garden and everything. Where years ago I used to do all that. And I'm a high energy person. I don't like sitting around. I like to get up and go. I'm motivated. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You want to buy something, you got to go and work for it. You want to buy it. You think it's going to come from the ceiling. It's not going to have, that sort of thing. But these days I have to sort of step back a bit and sort of do things as my body tells me to do it. Whereas before I'd really push myself, get up and go.
Well, that's an important point. Of course, you really shouldn't push yourself too hard. I am not a believer in, they say no pain, no gain. I think that's a bit silly. I mean, look, I normally set my treadmill at 10 kph. If I feel a little bit lack of energy, I set it at 9. It's no big deal. It's still quite a decent run. Yeah. In your case, if walking 50 meters is as much as you can do and then stop, well, then you do that. One of the things I've found with exercise is actually, I always say the key to health and longevity is Roman history. And the reason behind that is because I had to start getting exercise more regularly many, many years ago. And I found it difficult. I found it boring. So what I did is I had a TV and I put a tape of a BBC series called I, Claudius. And when I found I watched that, it was much, much easier to keep going. It got me interested. Yes. So these days, what I always do is have something going on. Normally a talking book. So I listen to probably at least a couple of talking books a week.
Yes.
And that is something that I always do. So when I'm exercising, when I'm showering afterwards, when I'm getting dressed, everything, I'm listening to this. I've just finished one called San Francisco, which is about about homeless people in San Francisco and the way that public policies creates them.
Yes.
Economics, history, biography. Another book I'm reading about Wuhan, what really happened to Wuhan about. I love books.
Yeah.
And I find that if I'm exercising and listening to a book, it's actually really, really, really easy to keep going because you took your mind off it. Working on my phone too, I often have I'm clearing blackberries or whatever, and I have my phone and I'm listening to one of these books in the car all the time. So keep your mind occupied. Again, it's a matter of don't go too extreme. Trouble people do, I think, is they go on a crash diet and they want to lose like 15 kilos all at once. And that's not a good thing to do because your body just is not used to it. Yeah. You want to aim to lose, maybe a kilo a week. Just take it, set yourself a time, weigh yourself every day, and just gradually get that into shape. And the same thing with exercise. Whatever you can do, do it. Now, I've got another friend who's actually under my I don't know what you call it. Must be a pretty pushy character because he was smoking. He was a smoker.
Right.
So he actually stopped smoking. I asked him why, and he said, "I don't really have any problems with it." I said, "Okay, come on." So he's given up smoking. That was a few, and then he started taking a walk, and then he just walks a bit more, and he's lost about 12 kilos so far. So it's a very gradual process, a few months.
Yeah, it's incredible. But I got to say, I totally agree with you. When I finished my bachelor degree, we've spoken about that, and I'm a law student. I haven't started my law degree yet. But when I was at university, we actually spoke about exactly what you've just said, and I do that. And I was listening. I'm a visual person, so I like to listen, but I also like to see. Like we're talking now, and listen, as opposed to I like reading books. But if I had the two choices, I like to read a book in the visual sense, and also the computer talking to me as I see pictures and the text. And I find that in my later years, especially going through university and listening to the lectures, because we could do that, I found that a lot more, I could relate to that and understand it better, as opposed to, say, printing notes at uni, which I did, and highlight in the lectures and coming home and just, that's just the way my brain works. And on the treadmill, I used to use a treadmill many years ago. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, religiously, from 5:30 to do 45 minutes every single morning, slow pace. And once I got into it for a week or two, it was just second nature, a bit like getting up, brush your teeth, have a shower, normal things, shave. And that was doing me a lot of good. And over the time, of course, I haven't been doing that. And now especially but I think the way you've explained it is, a lot of people, instead of pacing ourselves, we often say, oh golly, I've got to lose 20 kilos in a week or something. We know that's not going to happen. And then we burn out, crash, and then we never do it again. And it's actually worse for us.
Yo-yo, it's called yo-yo dieting, where you drop it, you take it back, you go on a diet. The secret of having a healthy body is not to go on a diet, but it's diet, full stop. That's it.
Yes.
You just set yourself certain kinds of standards, your certain goals, and you don't break them. There's a wonderful book called Atomic Habits, which I just read a few weeks back, which is great about building good habits. And a lot of it's got to do with your sense of identity. Like, for example, I mean, if I was to think about not exercising one day, I know in a certain kind of way, obviously, whether I exercise one day doesn't make any significant difference to my weight or my health, because it's only one day. It's like when you put an extra 1 kilo, it doesn't really add much by itself. But what I am, it's a matter of your self-image. Like, I am the kind of person that doesn't eat or does exercises every day, and it doesn't eat before 1 o'clock. So that if I don't do it, I feel bad about myself. It's a matter of self-image.
Yes.
Kind of like the way it's happening. You've got to be the kind of person that is healthy, the kind of person that does something rigorously and don't make excuses and don't say it doesn't matter, don't do it today. No, you do it today.
Yes.
And you eat this way today. You just do it as a matter of course. And if it's done right, it's not too difficult. It's going to be something you can maintain. You don't want to do anything that you can't keep up. And that's why these crash diets are such a bad idea, because people lose it, but they put it back, and it's no good.
Yeah. And I've seen that. I've seen that because, again, the way you're explaining it, you've got the soft, gentle approach, whereas when people are trained aggressively, exactly, I've seen it. They crash and burn, and then they actually end up putting more weight than what they had in the first place if they had just kept going. But would you recommend? I wanted to ask you this question: fasting. Do you recommend, or do you believe, or how do you feel about, say, someone that would consider fasting?
Well, as a Christian, fasting is part of my tradition. It's a tradition, and I think actually something like the Lenten fast is a pretty good idea, or the Ramadan fast that Muslims do is actually good for you. We have in my church, we have a fast once a month, but it's not very extreme. You just give up something, like I would typically tend to give up. I and my son would give up desserts, for example. We'd only fast for that dessert for that 1 month. So that kind of stuff. But obviously, what I do every day is the 16/8 fasting is So I believe fasting is actually good for you, both health-wise and spiritually as well, which is a different topic.
Yes.
But I do believe that controlling your desires and your physical activities and so forth is actually good for you. It tends to build discipline in many ways. The same thing applies to sex, of course, that if people have too much sex starting too early, it has a very bad effect. Our bodies are designed for a certain amount of toughness. That's what we're evolved for. So try to make things like easy. Another thing I talk about is cold as well. I think exposure to cold, being too comfortable all the time is a bad idea. Now, I don't normally have heating when I'm in home by myself during the winter. I wear a coat, if necessary, I'll put a jumper on. But I have cold showers when I exercise. And I work outside with minimal clothing the whole year round. So, sometimes you are a little bit cold, but it's not a bad feeling. I think your body needs a bit of tough love. And we tend to cosset ourselves like we're fragile, but really not the way our bodies are designed. So fasting is great.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I'm exactly like yourself. I hardly ever, in fact, I was living with my mum and dad just temporarily between finishing uni, my first degree, and moving into this apartment. And I'm exactly the same as you. I put layers on if I'm cold, and I'm rarely cold. And I don't, if I have the heater on, then something's wrong with me. And if I go outside, instead of putting one jacket, say if it's snowing, which it doesn't snow, I'll put two jackets on because really, you know, we're born with nothing on. When we're born with nothing on. And back, you know, I remember in the 70s, we were always outside, whether it was right, we would still play cricket in the backyard and it was pouring, you know. And my late grandma used to say, just have a nice shower and you'll be right. But now, as you said, we're just too comfortable, some of us, you know.
Yeah, that's quite right. It's also when you're cold, you develop this thing called brown fat, which actually is the kind of fat that burns energy quite fast. So I'm not quite sure what effect it has, but I think it makes it a bit easier. So the thing is, I really couldn't live a very austere life. And people who just live nothing but, you know, beans and vegetables and an occasional apple. I mean, I couldn't live like that. I enjoy food too much.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to sound like some sort of a martyr. You know, we go to this place called China Bar, which is pretty.
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Love it.
But I got to say, we go to China Bar, nothing's off. There's nothing off the table.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go in, I'll have some seafood, I'll have some different kinds of, I can have vegetables, always good vegetables.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a little bit of prawns. I don't need a lot of meat.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some desserts afterwards, and you know, might have 5 or 6 little things. So I'm not like a martyr or anything. It's just you just don't do it every day. That's all. It's just occasional, and it's a fun thing. Or I go out for a date with my wife, who I love to have date with Lee, and you know, sometimes go to a place that has, you know, 3 meals, not big meals, but like up in the Yarra Valley, there's a couple of places we go to. So
lovely, yeah.
But
Family's got a winery down there, Jim. If you want to go next time you're down there, they've got a winery.
Have you? Your family?
Yeah, not my direct family, but family, yeah, they've got 10 acres.
Oh, right. Which place is that?
Corniolawines.com.au. Corniola, corn, IOLA wines.com.au. Vince, if you're down there.
Well, not drinking alcohol, I'm probably not a good customer for them.
That's all right. He'll let you in, believe me. It's just in the back of, it's where they've got a couple of wineries that have been on postcards, and that is across the road. But he's just in the back, I think, of Di Bartoli. Di Bartoli's in the back of that.
That's nice, yeah.
But gee, that's God's country down there, Jim. That's beautiful.
That's the thing about alcohol too, of course. Is a little glass of red or day doesn't do you too much harm, but drinking too much is also a way of piling on the calories. I actually think too, we have a rule when we go out for dinner, like with my son. You can either have a soft drink or you can have a dessert, but not both, unless it's Christmas or something like that. So he doesn't have much soft drink. And we don't usually have it in the house. So soft drink is actually one of the worst things, or sweet drinks, because they don't have anything. Even though you might think that chopping up an orange and mulching it is the same as eating an orange, it's really not, because the way your body absorbs it, the sugar goes straight through, bang, straight, and it comes out. And you get this sugar rush, which is very bad for you. If you have fruit, it goes down much more slowly and gradually, especially a lot of fiber. So
very interesting. Just 2 things that I want to on conclusion with that. Two things that one that's exactly something that I heard before. And the other thing, before I forget, years and years ago, when I was a lot younger, I used to work in a part-time job at a gas station on the console operator. Anyway, had all these clients, and I've been working there for over 10 years, and they basically knew me like we were family. And one gentleman used to come in, I think back then he would have been at least 70, but much reminded me of yourself, you know, just get up and go, fit every day, just do, and be yourself, healthy. And he used to walk in shorts, always in shorts and a t-shirt, never saw him with a jacket, barefoot, rain, hail or shine, literally, I'm not exaggerating. And he told me, I think he was a scientist because he worked for a laboratory. He was the owner. And I asked him once, and I said, sorry, sir, can I ask you a question? Because I've known you for so long. And I said, I noticed that you're always in shorts, t-shirt, and you walk barefoot, literally cold as ice, raining, hail, sunshine, whatever. And he said, yes, because the body, like you described it, but he described it in a more scientific way that I didn't understand at first. He said, well, the way the body works is much like what you said, Jim. If we're too comfortable, it's no good for the body anyway. So the way he explained it that I can remember is much like what you explained it. The body reacts better to that sort of environment. And he never wore shoes. I never saw him with any shoes. And I think he was coming in there for over 10 years into that gas station because he was a client, he was a corporate client. That's one thing. And also with the fruit, I've been educated that say we get an orange or a pear or whatever we want to eat. If we slice it up and put it in a juicer, as opposed to just eating it off the tree raw, you cut it up and you eat it, different nutrients letting in the body, like you've explained. Can you just elaborate on those two things that we've talked about?
Well, yeah, eating the whole fruit versus the juicing thing, which is, see, it's strange. Orange is great for you, but orange juice is not that different to soda, to cola or something like that. Which, by the way, I don't mind too. But once a week, I have a quite often, usually about most weeks, I'll have at least one meal where I have something really unhealthy, but I'll have a what do you call it? The Greek thing, where you wrap the vegetables in it.
Souvlaki.
Souvlaki, yeah. Just
love souvlaki.
And chips, and that's not exactly a hugely healthy meal, but I love it. So. Oh. But the point of it is, soft drink is really one of the worst things. The sweet drinks are one of the worst dangers because, as I said, it's no matter how your body absorbs it. If you have a food and it goes down with a lot of fiber, because obviously we should all eat a lot of fiber.
Yeah, for the blood. Yeah.
Food is for your intestines, and it gets released very gradually and with time. It's a natural way. We are evolved to eat fruit because 500 years ago we were basically like chimpanzees. Probably more than they're like us. And food is part of our diet. So that's our body's made for it. But then you have this artificial stuff like mulched up fruit juice or soda or anything like that. It's really just bad for you. Look, I honestly don't know exactly what contributes to my health overall. You sort of know it's diet and exercise. I think cold has but I can't prove that. I think cold actually affects your mood too. That's a lot of things too.
Yeah, I'm exactly like that, exactly the same. I just love fresh air. Whether it's rain, hail, or shine, I need fresh air. Yeah.
That's right. But that's and mood is a lot of things too. I think it's a matter of what makes you happy too.
Yes.
And living a life that makes you happy. And actually being fit is exercise is almost the single biggest thing you can do to make yourself have a good mood, because it's actually found to be far more effective than any antidepressant on the market. If you could patent and bottle what exercise do for you, you'd be a trillionaire in no time. Exercise is really, really good.
I'm on your side with that for sure. Yeah. Hence walnuts. Walnuts for the look, I'm glad we've had this discussion because years ago I'd say things to people much not as you've explained. You've explained it in real good, great detail. People would look at me and think, you're crazy. and the funny thing is, I was watching something before. I'm not going to talk about the name or their claim. With these purifying machines, they're saying now that all the indoors are no good and all these sprays and that, which basically rounds up what you're saying. So they're saying either get out in the outdoors and get fresh air, or sit in your room day in, day out and buy these air purifiers. Because, it's...
Outdoors is very, very important. And why it is not quite clear, but there's a whole lot of things. One of them is natural light is very good for you. Even if you're indoors, as much light as possible. Like I just have this big window over here, which is good. But being outdoors as much as possible is really good for you. But also the smell of natural things. There's something in the air, in the pheromones and stuff that come off plants, which is good for you.
Exactly.
They've done things in hospitals, actually. They found that people who've got a window, near a window, are actually recover and go home earlier than those who don't have a window or don't have a good window. So there's a lot. it's a matter of looking about what we evolved for. You know, we never evolved to be sedentary indoors, sit down all the time, eat junk food, and be idle. It's not how our bodies are made.
No.
So therefore, we've got to listen to how our ancestors live. And this whole business about getting old is just so unnecessary. You know, we've got guys who, I had a guy I was talking to, I ring my franchisees when they hit major anniversaries, like 10, 15, 20 years, this kind of thing. Yeah. And I was talking to one guy the other day, he's just about to celebrate his 80th birthday, and he's still mowing lawns for a living.
Wow.
And that's he doesn't do quite as much as he used to 20 years ago, but he's still out there, and he said it's active. The whole idea that the 65 who are washed up is crazy. And this epidemic of dementia, you know, what we think of as the conditions of aging, you know, things like dementia and this inability to move and all this kind of things, and almost unknown amongst hunter gatherers, like the Hazara and so forth. They just don't know it. Even in China, and my wife says that elderly people just keep on moving and working normally, and then they die. Yeah. This whole slow debilitation is just unnecessary. And I don't think we can afford it, either personally or as a society, to allow people to degenerate so bad after 65. People should keep active, keep going, keep living.
Yeah.
And two is, in the modern world, physical strength is not all the thing. And you and I had an arm wrestle. Quite possibly you'd beat me, because I am 69.
Well, I've got a lot more fat though in my arm. You've got muscle, I've got fat.
Still, no, when you're younger, you have more physical strength. But most work today doesn't require a huge amount of physical strength. Even if you're mowing a lawn, you've got this rotary mower doing all the hard work. What do you got to push the thing? And then most of us have, you know, desk jobs and stuff where our minds and everything are concerned. So I think one of the most pernicious dangers of the modern age is people have this idea of 65, you should retire. It's just crazy. You know, my mother actually was a primary school teacher. She was a relief teacher. And when she turned 65, the department sacked her. And it was just...
Really? That's sad.
Well, this was, you know, 30-something years ago. So it was a while ago. And it was stupid because she actually liked doing it. Yeah. The head liked her to do it because she's a good teacher. And it wasn't too much. It was only a couple of days a week. And they said, no, you're 65, you has been, we don't want you, bang. Now, she had a life, and she became very lethargic. She didn't move much. And her mind, when she had dementia, it was absolutely awful. And I think one of the reasons is she was forcibly retired.
That's sad.
She retired. She used to go hitchhiking all around the world. She hitchhiked right across Canada.
Really?
Yeah, she was an amazing lady, but she just didn't have enough to occupy herself in normal times. Yeah. So I think retirement's a very, very bad idea. You know, even if they fire you from your job because they're so stupid to think that you don't have anything to give, well, then do something else. Buy a lawn mowing.
Well, I'm on your side, and I used to say this just, you know, within friends and that. I actually think, much like yourself, and especially using the 80-year-old there who's working for you, I believe that the government should really even promote and fund holding on to people as they get older, even 1 day a week, 2 days a week, because really, not only for health is paramount, but also for society in general, because a lot of young kids now, they work, but do they know what they're doing? Have they been trained, not only in work, but on life, you know, life skills? Health is important, and that's a whole other topic that we probably talk about in another episode, but
Just again, a matter of evolution. You look at, for example, why we live so long. Now, if I was a chimpanzee, I would have been dead decades ago. I would have died about 45, because chimpanzees don't outlive their fertility. Yes. Well, I mean, I'm probably still fertile, but still, the women can't give birth much after the age of 40 or 45. Now, why do we live for decades past that date? It's because older people have experience, just like what you were saying. Yeah. So there's things to learn. There's a wonderful, I don't know if you've read Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond. It's a wonderful book. And one of the things he describes is of a situation where there was a famine, and the people who were most useful, this is in New Guinea, were the people who lived who were much older, because they said, oh, back in previous
Yes.
time, we used to eat this kind of food. So that kind of collective memory is so important. Older people have so much to contribute. I actually think in any reasonable practical sense, I'm far better at business than I was 20 years ago, because I know so much. If I look back at what I was doing then, I think, what a stupid thing. Why did you do that? We're learning so much. We're progressing so fast, partly because I've learned such valuable lessons. So why give that away because I've turned 65?
Yes.
It's a lesson we've got to learn. What should happen is that as people get older, they get a bit less physically. You don't get 70-year-olds digging ditches. It's not the best thing usually. No. But there's plenty of things they can do that they can be physically active and they can be mentally active.
Yes.
And
yes. Yeah.
The other thing too is it's very important, and this again comes back to aging properly. You've got to keep your mind active.
Yes.
And
yes.
I was saying one of the things I do, one of the things I reckon is the greatest gadget ever. It's this. It's my iPhone.
Yes.
This is fantastic, and that carries my talking books with me wherever I go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm actually reading or listening to books more than ever in the past. You can download anything from Amazon.
Knowledge. Yeah.
I keep on listening all the time. I'm being hit with ideas, and my ideas are changing all the time. I think quite different now about a whole stack of stuff that I did 5 years ago. And that also tends to keep you young, because you're always thinking about new ideas.
Yeah. And
I don't expect to be senile. I think it's very unlikely that I will be, because from everything to do, fitness, health, interest, working, all these kinds of things.
Yes.
If you keep your mind active and you keep yourself active, it's much, much less likely to happen. I reckon I'll probably, I do these things on the internet where, how long you're going to live for, which I think is quite fun. And depending on the system, I should live anything about early 90s up to about 102. That's roughly where it is.
Good.
The pastor of the church who just died recently gave a wonderful sermon to the church on his 104th birthday. So that was
wow. That's interesting, because I want to ask you again on concluding. I mean we've all seen it on TV, and that the claims that the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the claim is they have or their system, their beliefs, and that through their belief, they are part of the longest living in human society. They have the longest longevity.
Yes, yeah. Other people too, like people of Okinawa or Sardinia, those kind of places, Mediterranean diet, active, physically active, lots of vegetables, those kind of things. Yeah, definitely the case. Look, there's a lot of secrets to going old. One thing people, it's common knowledge that people over the age of 65 are all has-beens and useless. But one person that nobody explained this to was Warren Buffett, because there's a book called Warren Buffett's CEOs, in which describes private companies which he bought. And what he did is he bought them with the management attached. He got brilliant managers. So he paid them for the business and then let them stay as managers. Yeah. And he's built an absolute fortune for Berkshire Hathaway. They were absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
The most striking thing about those people is almost all of them were well over 65. One of his most productive managers was over 100.
Wow.
Brilliant business leaders. Now, people say, has been useless at 65. Why didn't they explain that to Warren Buffett?
So there's hope for me yet.
You're a lot longer to go, but what you've got to do is to get yourself in great shape and exercise as much as you can, and understand your medical problems, whatever you can, so that when you get to 69, you're going to be saying, wow, another 25 years to go. I've got so much to do.
Absolutely.
I've got so much to do. The next quarter century I've got left for me.
Absolutely. I'm glad we had the discussion, and with your permission, is it okay if we continue this on the next episode, which we'll probably do in the new year, given that we're entering December? But firstly,
if you think I've got anything more to say, I think I probably
no. I think
talk more about health than most people want to hear in their lifetime.
Well, to me, myself, and I've studied this at university, funny enough, exactly what you said in the workplace, where in America, they're introducing gyms and health things at work, and the employer's paying for it because of what you said, it increases productivity. But I think we're doing
the same thing, John. We've actually got a racquetball court and heated court and stuff all coming in line early next year.
Yes.
Partly for our conference center, but also for the staff too. So we're really trying to encourage them to get healthy and get exercise. In fact, in our finance department, they've got a thing that they're going out half an hour a day and exercising together.
Yeah. And as you said, it increases productivity. And the next thing I want to ask you, when we do our next meeting, with your permission, is we talk about the power of the mind, the mindset, and how that all functions, to do with what we've discussed, being consistent, setting goals, achieving them, etc., etc. Because I think, I've enjoyed today. I've got to say, I've enjoyed it immensely. I know what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to go and get some Greek yogurt because I used to have that. I'm going to go and get some cherries because I think they're just about ready, if not strawberries. And
cherries are great. Cherries are fantastic. Really, really good. Yeah. I have to say, if you can afford to get the premium ones, they're just a different taste. They're a bit bigger, but they're really nice.
Oh, I love them. But I want to thank you because, as always, you just always trying to help. I know you're trying to help me. You're always supporting me. So I want to thank Jim Penman, CEO and founder of the Jim's Group, with over 4,500 franchisees in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. And from the bottom of my heart, Jim, truly, hand on heart, I'm glad we had this interview, and I look forward in the new year to carrying this on. Because
and I look forward to hearing how you're going with your health goals.
Yes,
Tell me how you go.
I'm going to do it in baby steps. Yeah,
baby steps. That is the secret. Don't push yourself too hard.
No.
Make it easy. If you find it boring, put up a TV, because there's wonderful TV programs on these days. Put up an exercise and watch it while you're doing it. So it keeps you going.
Yeah. And I love reading up Warren Buffett, etc. The other day I was listening, just to finish off, I was listening on people doing these YouTubes, but what they do, they travel around and they talk about the history of the country. But as they're talking, I'm watching it on TV, they're talking about the history and they're showing all the visual, and I thought, wow, I didn't know. And I just kept watching, much like, to your claim you're making, it just feeds us, knowledge, it feeds us, a bit like having a meal. I was hungry, I had a meal, I feel better. And
there's something about Buffett too. I'm probably out of time, but you can exclude this part if you like. But he's actually a great fan of fitness. This is a guy who's in his 90s and still going strong. But he has a racquetball court at home. Don't know how many plays, I imagine. But I do remember a description of a time when he was going through the middle of the city and he was running with somebody else, running for the fun of it.
Really?
Would have already been in his 70s or whatever. He's just like that.
He's incredible.
Look at a guy like Buffett. I'm not as brilliant or anything like as good at business as he is, but that principle of fitness is something that he really understands and knows. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah. And tell me on the last thing, I read that he's got a mentor, and I don't know his name. He's spoken about it because I do listen to him from time to time. I love the bloke. But maybe next time, if you know who his mentor is. He said he gives credit to his mentor, and I thought, wow, is there another Warren Buffett? I
know one person who's influenced him a lot, of course, is Bill Gates.
Oh, yes.
Because he's actually joined the Giving Pledge, which is, the most of the money goes to charity, which of course is something I will do too. Most of my money will go to my foundation.
Yes.
It's in the family trust. So
yes.
So he's done that. So I know the Gates and he are good friends, and Gates has been a fantastic influence on him. I'm a great admirer of Bill Gates, even though not everybody likes him, apparently. Yeah,
not many people like him. I'm an admirer. Look, I think we've got to continue this with your permission next time, Jim. It's a pleasure having you. Happy holidays. I don't know. I won't say see if you can look better next time, because I don't think anyone can. I can't compete against you, that's for sure, not on health. But I'm going to go and get my Greek yogurt and my strawberries or cherries, and we'll talk about it next time. Thanks to Jim Penman.
And exercise as much as you can. Just start slowly and just build up.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing how you're going.
Thank you very much, Jim. We'll see you on the next episode.